for the most part, you plan for your week to look like this. This is an arrow, and it's just kind of pointing up. You start at this point, you do some stuff, you get up here, you get up here, you get up here, and then this is like that goal that you wanted to achieve at the end of it. Just slowly building up the motivation to do things. But for the most part, our weeks do not look like that. In fact, they looked a little bit more like this. Let me show you a different visual here. Shit. Oh my god, my handwriting's so bad there. But I didn't get anything done. And now I'm beating myself up because I just got home, I cried, I watched Netflix, I didn't do anything. And that's okay. I mean, that is completely fine. But for the most part, if we want our weeks to get to a point in which we can be a little bit more productive, have those stepping stones for ourselves, I'm going to give you guys 5 easy tips. So I'm going to say that the first thing to do to instantly improve your week or anything, no matter what, is this one A word. I'm going to write it down and I want you to try to guess it in the comments. It's pretty easy. So the first part to having a good week is acceptance. So acceptance, right? What does that mean? It means not to beat yourself up for the small things. And this is the hardest step. This is going to be one of the harder bumps. When you don't come to accept that something's not going to be perfect, it's going to be hard to settle for anything. And unfortunately, what that does is that ends up making you sabotage yourself and sabotage, the things in your week. So instead of spending time doing things, you end up spending time not doing things because you may be afraid of failure. And that's okay. So the first part to having a more productive week, a more productive life, is you have to factor in and budget in these highs and lows. Like I said, your week is not going to look like that arrow I showed you. It's going to look a little more like this. So instead of arrows, let's think of these as the building points in our week. So usually when we start our week, we start on a very high point because we got our hopes up, we got plans, we got so much shit we want to do. We start up here. And we don't immediately dip down. Like usually after the second day or so, it's like, oh, okay, I can do this. You lose a little bit of momentum. And then there's usually that Wednesday that kicks in and you're like, okay, I wanted to start my workout plan and now I'm just going to go eat cookies. And that's fine if you do that. You have to be able to factor out these highs and lows, because if you're able to accept this dip down here, the next day you'll be able to come all the way back up because you would have taken that time to, just recover, be yourself, relax, and give yourself your energy to build up. And usually you don't end as strong as you started, but it may go down a little bit and then could go back full circle up to that motivation point again. You want to be able to factor out for these highs and lows. So for this step, I want you to get a pen and a paper, and I want you to write down potential obstacles that you are going to face this week. This way, by the time they come, that low, it's not going to be as hard. So I'm going to write the potential obstacles that I am going to face next week. Let's see what they're going to be. I'm going to write down 3. So your obstacles can be something hyper specific, but mine are a little more general. Yours do not have to be like this. But I know right off the bat that these are things that I face throughout my week. And when I'm at my lowest point, it's usually as a result of these 3 things. 1 is procrastination. I'm a type of person that when I'm interested in something and when I really want to get it done, I get it done. But the issue is I end up procrastinating a lot of the times. Like there's a couple books I want to finish. They're not done, mainly due to procrastination. There's a lot of things that I know I'm going to face due to procrastination. This usually leads to self-doubt for me. So these 2 are kind of connected. Because when I start procrastinating, then I start doubting myself. And then when I start doubting myself, if I go down here, then I start losing focus. And that's usually how my week goes wrong. But because I've recognized these patterns, I'm now able to look at these and say, okay, so I know myself. I know that there's a 90% chance that I'm going to doubt myself because I'm going to procrastinate. So what I'm going to do is Whenever I start procrastinating, I'm going to write down one reason as to why I should go on and take that little step, because that is going to help me get through that dip and get back up to a point where I can have more energy. And this leads us perfectly into the second step. And the second step is pretty straightforward. And this one is baby steps. So if you learn to take baby steps, you're going to be on top of the world. There was a book that I read, a very popular self-help book called Atomic Habits. And I don't remember the exact quote, but basically at the end of the year, let's say you did something for just at your 1% every single day, right? You're still going to be 100% better at that thing at the end of the year than you would have been had you not just done that one thing, your 1% every single day. But, if you don't try something, you're not going to get there. So baby steps. Sometimes we overestimate the length of a week. And especially if you have a full-time position, you're working 40, 80 hours a week. A week is not a long time, girl. So don't be going down in your calendar and going, okay, this week I'm going to fucking fly to climb the Mount Everest. This week I'm going to start a business and make $10 million. I know these are like big claims I'm putting out there, but again, you want to start really small. If you want to have a good week, just have a small goal, nothing huge, because a week is not a lot of time. And if you are able to accomplish that goal, then usually you can push yourself to do more things throughout the week. Plot that one thing, so your next exercise that you want to achieve that week. And the key word is one, like I said, not multiple, just one goal. If you get that done, you're set. If you have more time to do something else, you're set. At the end of the day, you would have achieved something throughout your week. And that's good. So let me just write down a goal that I want to do next week. Next week, I want to write. Next week, I'm just going to write. Just a small goal, because right now I'm working on something that requires writing. So next week, I just want to sit down and write. If I can convince myself to do that one day, I can convince myself to do it another day. Now, the next step for building off of these things now is once you start taking these baby steps, you got to find your zone. Now, this one is pretty important as well. So this can mean a lot of things. The zone can mean you're like super zen'd out, and like once you start working on something, you're in your zone, like you're working on it. But in this instance, I mean more of a physical zone, a place that makes you feel safe, and things that make you feel safe. Physical things that make you mentally and physically feel safe. It's things that help get you within your zone. So for example, I have this random Mona Lisa book that I sometimes write my songs in. I like writing songs in here because it's the fucking Mona Lisa on a book, It's very random, very spontaneous, but looking at it makes me happy, and it helps me to sort of get into a creative zone, because I'm like, I have a book that stares at me when I walk away from it. Other things that make me feel comfortable in my zone are fairy lights. Maybe in some of my other videos you've seen them, but I have fairy lights around my room, because when I look at them, I feel motivated, because it makes me feel like I'm looking up at the sky, and then it makes me happier to be in here and to get stuff done. If you have a home office, great. That can be your zone. It does not have to be your bedroom. So just find things that make you feel comfortable. This is a super small step, and this is also going to help you with your baby steps. Now, this is where stuff gets a little bit crazy. This is where we take all of those things, the baby steps, finding your zone. Now we're going to get introspective. This one is a big one, because this one's important. And not a lot of people are going to be able to do this right away because it feels silly. And this one is visualize, okay? Once you have your eyes set on something, if you truly have your eyes set on that thing is going to be at the back of your head, and you're going to subconsciously be driving yourself to doing that thing. If you can think about it and you can see it, if you can think about it, you can see it in your head. And if you can see it, you can make it happen. If you envision yourself just having a slightly better week, than you had last week, you're going to have a better week. You just have to envision it. Try to visualize yourself in different scenarios, different things that you're going to be doing to help improve your week. Oh, this week I envision myself meditating. This week I envision myself going to Wendy's and getting a cheeseburger. This week I envision myself swimming on the beach. Just envision yourself doing the things that make you happy. And the more you think about it, the more you're going to be like, maybe I should go drive to Wendy's and get a cheeseburger. You get it, you feel good, your week feels better, and boom, you've envisioned something and you've brought it into your reality. And now we're at the step 5. This one is good. This one is where we get all those things, all those different steps, and this one is pretty straightforward. My handwriting is atrocious. Reflection. Oh God, yep. So you gotta reflect on yourself in things. The more I started reflecting in the years, the better I've just been, like mentally, because we as people need to feel seen, heard, and validated, not just by the people around us, but by ourselves. See, the issue is a lot of the times people don't realize that you need to know who you are, and you need to understand and empathize the situations that you are going through. Because if you're not taking the time to reflect on your week, reflect on yourself, journal, talk to yourself, meditate, do art, you're not going to be able to understand the things that make you happy. You're not going to be able to understand the things and the patterns that are making you upset. You're not going to be able to understand the patterns that are bringing forth these humps in your week. But if you take the time to reflect and think about yourself. Who am I? What makes me happy? What makes me tick? What makes me motivated? Why am I like this? If you take the time to just reflect those things, I know it's deep, but if you take the time to do that, you will be improving yourself, and in turn, you will find ways to improve your week.